Don Stanley here with Ken Collins on the Results for You, Becoming a Leadership in Today's Work World show. And what we're going to be talking about today is the idea of learning styles. In our last episode, we talked a bit about what needs to be in the leader's toolbox. And Ken, you gave us kind of 4 dimensions that build upon one another. The big one is that people first, and that's something that's a huge part of your foundational leadership model. So with that, as leaders, or aspiring leaders, when you talk about people being first, not everybody learns the same. So what can you teach us and what can you tell us about learning styles that we need to know?
Oh yeah, I'd be more than happy to. So people first, guess what? I get juiced up about that. And so the way I would start to frame this is that, we've talked about DISC and the importance of understanding yourself and the uniqueness of others. If there's something as essential as DISC for leaders, the next one is equally, maybe even more important, is learning styles of individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And in today's business world, when I interact with clients, I'm seeing this clash when it comes to knowledge transfer within the business and coaching, mentoring, and training people. And so here's the 4 learning styles that we need to be aware of. One is audio. Second is visual. Thirdly is kinesthetic, and that is movement of limbs and things. So that's the hands-on.
Mm-hmm.
And then fourthly is thinking. And so thinking is more conceptual. It's reading a book and absorbing. It's going on the internet and doing research and just collecting information and data and then eventually doing something with that. And so when I do my trainings, I'm very aware of that. I will use all 4. And what I mean by that is that, I like using videos or YouTube. So go figure, highly popular way for people to learn and investigate. So I'll use YouTube. And then what I'll do is after the video, I'll talk to groups about, now, how does this apply to me? So there's some interaction. It's not uncommon for me, Don, I love my dry erase boards, to then create more visual. So after the YouTube video, it's audio, they're listening to me speak, and then we're listening to each other. Then I go back to another form of visual. I'm collecting the feedback and thoughts and jotting it up on a dry erase board. It's also not uncommon for me to have games, tools, props, and worksheets. So now we get some hands-on activities involved in it. And then there's this thinking part. So how do we use a mind map at the end of the trainings to take all the ideas and turn them into action? So we're collecting our thoughts in a creative way and placing it on paper for the most important thing in learning, and that is application.
Mm-hmm.
And so to summarize, I think it's very important as leaders to understand the learning styles, but then also too as a leader, what are the individual training styles? Because they need to match. If they don't match, we're going to have frustration. And that is what I hear and sense when I talk to businesses today.
So why is it then that these learning styles are a blind spot for most leaders? Because what you're saying makes sense. Get to know your team, play to their strengths, being self-aware of yourself, but also aware of your team. So why is it a blind spot? And how can we, as aspiring leaders or leaders already within our organizations, how can we kind of turn them into our secret weapon rather than a blind spot?
Yeah, so let me elaborate and give you an example of a personal story. And so where these blind spots become is, especially in construction, and this may be in many businesses too, there's a learning style out there that's pure hands-on. Let me just jump in there, touch it, feel it, see it, and experience it.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, just dive in, have at her. But there's also a generation that has learned through video and YouTube. And so where the blind spots come is when a training style like hands-on interacts with a training style like YouTube, you get these disconnects.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's an example. I was sitting on an interview panel recently with a client who was interviewing apprentice candidates. And there were 6 individuals there, 3 ladies, 3 men. I asked the group, what does work ethic mean to you? Because I really like the answers to that. And you know what? That's kind of a kinesthetic or hands-on. Yeah, what does it mean to you there? And so all the responses were very interesting. There was one that stood out to me, and that was one of the gals stood out and said, well, work ethic is over the weekend, I just changed the faucet for the first time in my bathroom. And it's working perfectly, no leaks, and I'm very prideful of myself there. And so my next question was, so then work ethic is you just went and got your toolbox, started to work away and all those other things. And she said, no, Ken, I watched a YouTube video. And after watching the video a couple times through the process, then I went and grabbed my tools, and I had a successful way of learning, experiencing, and a great out. You could see the excitement in her hands. Mm-hmm. We end that panel interview and we get a discussion, and we have some training styles in there that are kinesthetic or hands-on that were shaking their heads and said, oh, I can't believe it. She didn't just go grab those tools. She had to go watch TV. Mm. And I said, hold on here. And so I started to explain training style, learning styles. Well, that was in the spring, Don. This summer, I heard from that client that they ended up hiring her, and she's the best apprentice candidate thus far out in the field. And so I was reminded of, we have these blind spots because we have these beliefs, these self-limiting beliefs. And the answer to that is usually in the mirror, but we've got to be more open if we're going to have successful knowledge transfer on how we adjust our training style to match the learning style of the individuals within our workforce. Where I've seen this done effectively is you're familiar with Anna White, Don. And if you go on her YouTube channel, and the subscriber base is massive. But essentially what that is, Don, as you know, is that she has created a library of videos for all little projects to be done around the house, or how do you build things. And there's a huge female following base there that is exploding like crazy. And so there is Anna White, in her way, helping to turn kinesthetic learning, hands-on, into visual learning, and creating a whole tribe of followers because that style is effective. And if you haven't gone out there, I would encourage our viewers to go check out Anna White.
Yeah, we'll definitely put a link below, because what she's done has been phenomenal. And one of the things that I would encourage you to do as leaders too is think about how you might be able to incorporate some of this. One of the reasons Ken and I are doing this show is to take advantage of the tools that are out there like YouTube to help people with learning styles that might work for them. And I know that I've coached some clients on using YouTube or other tools like that internally to help lead their own team. Because some people, like you said, like this woman on this panel, that's the way she learned and processed. I know that's the way I do as well. And sometimes leaders will say to me, well, that's not how I do it. And my response always to them is, well, you're a sample size of one. So let's look beyond just yourself and think about, your people who you're working with and you're leading and you're collaborating, and try to get a sense of what can be the best ways to reach them. And I think, and we can finish on this, is I think that when a leader goes out of their way to take into account how the people who they're leading, how they learn, people really appreciate that. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, and I would add, Don, I would place a bet that with the evolution of technology from TV to laptop to tablet to now what we're going to see more of in virtual reality, I think we are going to have to become students and adapt our learning or training styles to more of the visual rather than kinesthetic. And so if we can make that transition, what I try to tell businesses, you'll see the level of frustration reduce, and then growing your talent base will increase. As long as we stay open-minded to the different learning styles and training styles.
And I love that because, as we've talked about in these previous episodes on DISC and on the toolbox, et cetera, all of those things build up to helping people feel like they're a part of something. And when they feel like they're a part of something, they work better. You have less turnover. You have more buy-in, and I think morale goes up and energy goes up and people's sense of ownership goes up, and you get better work out of it and therefore better profits, etc., out of it as well.
Yeah, and go figure, Don, to have all that success, we're back to people first.
Absolutely.
That's the tool that has to come out of the toolbox in the beginning.
Absolutely. So if you'd like to learn a little bit more about how to make sure that people are first, make sure to check out the Results4You website. Also, feel free to submit questions to us in the comment section below or through the Results4You website, because our goal with this show is to help you become a great leader in today's world. So thanks so much for joining in, and we will see you on our next episode.